Developments taking place in Europe can have devastating effects on the continent and also on the world. Tensions in Ukraine are still on the rise, with the US and NATO beefing up their troops to confront any Russian military advance into the Donbas region in southeastern Ukraine. The economic effects vary from a natural gas supply gap for Europe if Russia gas flows were interrupted because of threatened sanctions, and to more devastating disruptions of production and normalizing the already threatened supply chains. That, of course, notwithstanding the impact on the world. Good evening. You're watching the Business Insider here on Nile TV International. I'm Ayman Salah. Our weekly program tackles events affecting economies and business, and we aim to bring you the inside story. Welcome back. Let's start with the first news item. The IMF has revised upwards its growth forecast for Egypt to 5.6% in fiscal year 2021-2022, up from its 5.2% projection made in October. This falls in line with the Egyptian government's expectations. Preliminary figures announced by Planning Minister Hala Said last year suggested that the economy grew by 9.8% in the first quarter, its quickest pace in 2 decades, and 6.7% in the second quarter. Meanwhile, the IMF downgraded its projection for global growth in 2022 to 4.4% in its World Economic Outlook update, down 0.5 percentage point from its last outlook report in October. This is due to the pandemic's continued effects, namely continuing supply chain disruptions, rising inflation, and tightening monetary conditions across the world, guiding the global economy into a weaker position than anticipated at the beginning of 2022. And the second news item is that the government is planning to sell stakes in state-owned companies every month or two, according to the Planning Minister, Hala Said. The government seeks institutional and solid private sector investors and at the same time help deepen the capital market in Egypt. As Said said, that the target is to offer a company every month or every 2 months. Firms to be part privatized this year include the National Service Projects Organization's bottled water company and oil companies or petroleum companies. The Sovereign Fund of Egypt is currently restructuring the companies ahead of the sales, which could involve buy-ins by strategic investors ahead of possible IPOs on the Egyptian Stock Exchange. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Business Insider. Tonight we are joined by Mr. Ahmed Khattab. He's an economic researcher. He's also the president of the Sustainable Development Committee in the Canadian Council. A pleasure to have you on the show.
My pleasure to all of you, and my good evening to you and all of the Egyptian citizens.
Thank you very much. Let's start with a report and then we start our discussion. We'll be back.
The IMF has revised upwards its growth forecast for Egypt to 5.6% in the financial year 2021-2022 from its 5.2% projection made in October. This comes in the background of solid and vibrant economic activity and reforms taking place in the country, along with rising exports, tourism activity, and Suez Canal revenues. The country went through an unprecedented period in its history from 2011 to date, including 2 revolutions, leading to a changed course in the development process. A number of key development issues, including investment in human capital, economic and social reforms, environment, governance, and women's issues, were prioritized. In recent years, Egypt has committed to implementing reforms in the areas of health, education, scientific research, and housing, with a particular focus on dimensions related to quality and competitiveness. The area of investment in human capital is related to 2 themes: health and education and training, as well as knowledge, innovation, and scientific research. Egypt has also made efforts on social housing with a view to empowering low and middle income groups with monetary support mechanisms already disbursed. The country reduced the number of unplanned and unsafe settlements, increased coverage of water and sanitation services, and expanded the services of a decent life program. Economic reforms are paving the way for a balanced development shift, eyeing a balanced geographical, sectorial, and environmental growth, with attention to small and medium enterprises and regulating and integrating the informal sector. Moreover, achieving stability in macroeconomic indicators in order to ensure consistency and integration of financial and monetary policies aims to provide a stable environment that enhances confidence in Egypt's economy and its ability to attract the high investment rates needed to achieve comprehensive development.
Welcome back to the Business Insider. So our show tonight comes in the background of a very important development that just took place minutes ago. And I believe congratulations is in order. And again, let me welcome Mr. Ahmed Khattab, economic researcher and president of the Sustainable Development Committee in the Canadian Council. Once again, a pleasure to have you on the show. And let's start with your assessment of the reform process to date.
Yeah, first of all, before I'm starting about it's a very good position of the Egyptian economy, let me celebrate the national Egyptian team for the success of today football game win against Cote d'Ivoire, and all support to the national Egyptian team. And we hope to be the first in all sports match games in the future. Our Egyptian economy takes a very right direction starting from 2016 once we take the decision to make economic reform. Our President Sisi sent a clear message to the minister and to the cabinet, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, and to the central bank governor, Mr. Tariq Amir, to take a lot of economic reform decision related to the floating of the Egyptian pound and remove subsidies to the petroleum sector, especially on the energy sector. And once we take the right direction in the economic reform, we have a very positive attitude from all the monetary fund like IMF and Fitch and Standard & Poor's and all,
World Bank as well.
And World Bank also. All the international institutions send a positive report about the Egyptian economy and the growing rate, especially after the recovery of COVID-19 pandemic. Starting from the 2022, the first quarter, I think the growing rate of Egypt will be around 4, and we may be reached by the end of this 2022, 4.5%. I think this is also a very positive attitude sent to the world from IMF today.
Earlier, there was an assessment by the IMF and the World Bank, I believe, that the GDP growth would be around 5.2%. The government at that time made an assessment that the GDP growth will be 5.6%. Now, according to the report that was issued by the IMF, which was issued yesterday, on Tuesday, they reaffirmed, they revised their growth forecast for Egypt to 5.6%, which was the original assessment by the government.
Yeah, this is...
How does this fare, in your opinion?
This is reflects the fair and the very good reports presented from the Minister of Planning, Dr. Haris Said, about the GDP and about the growing rate also. Because our we make a forecast for the coming year, and we have the ability to meet this forecast. And this is reflect a very strong position of the Egyptian economy, and also a very good position of the central bank reserve of the foreign currency. And all this achievement and all this effort reflects the wonderful and the helpful of all the cabinet, all sector in the field of industry minister and finance minister, all ministers working together as a one team in order to increase GDP and in order to meet the expectation of the Egyptian citizen in increasing the growing rate and in creating new jobs and in opening new industries, especially heavy industry related need electricity in Egypt, needs solar energy. All this sector like petroleum sector, like fertilizer sector, I think in Egypt we take the right direction, especially we have a wonderful achievement in the field of steel industry.
So what you're saying, before going into the industries, what you're saying is there's a harmony between the fiscal and the monetary policies.
Yes.
Is this correct?
Yes, it's 100% correct. This harmony reflected directly to the growing rate and is reflected directly to GDP and reflected directly to the good forecast of the Egyptian and also the appraisal or all positive position sends to Egypt from the International Monetary Fund and all world institutions make a very safe position to the Egyptian economy, and this leads to Egypt will be the hub market for direct foreign investment from Arab and Europe and American citizen and American also an institution.
Since you mentioned American, the Fed, the US Fed, just announced that it will keep interest rates unchanged for the time being. There was a worry from the Egyptian side, namely people working in the capital market, that if the Fed increases the interest rates, this would affect negatively the market here in Egypt. So do you think this decision to keep the interest rate on track or to keep it unchanged in the US, this will be more of an attraction for the Egyptian market?
Interest rate is very important to the Egyptian market, and I think we have a committee with the central bank working together in order to make the percentage or to set the percentage of the interest rate, especially in order to be matching with the world also interest rate. So in Egypt, we control the interest rate because it reflected directly to the inflation rate. And so once we aim to collect money from the Egyptian market or from the Egyptian citizen, the central bank takes takes the decision of increased interest rate.
Here I'm talking about the Fed. I'm not talking really about the Egyptian.
Egypt as Egypt as a part of the world will affected from the America, especially America have a huge investment in Egypt also and in the Arab region as a whole.
So it will remain attractive for the American market for the time being.
Till now we remain the first attractive country in the Middle East and North Africa to all American citizens, American institutions to come and invest.
Let's move from there to the promotion of small and medium enterprises and micro enterprises in Egypt. How do you evaluate the efforts to promote small and medium enterprises in the country so far?
Small and medium enterprises in Egypt have presidential support, especially from President Sisi and the Minister of Trade, Dr. Nivin Kabbaj, because all the growing countries like Egypt depend mainly on SMEs project. Why SMEs project? Because we have a lot of governors, and all governors have a specific kind of industry. Like for example, all Egyptian citizens located in Upper Egypt may concentrate in the agriculture field. The Egyptian citizens located in Cairo and Giza work in industrial field. So SMEs will be the key solution to also create a new job for Egyptian youth, and this is a very effective issue to all Egyptian citizens to how to create a job, and will support also a woman because SME is related to the woman. A lot of Egyptian women start up SMEs project related in the field of textile, for example, in the field of agriculture, also in the field of resale of product. So SMEs take a lot of support also from the central bank initiative by supporting by 5% interest rate to all SMEs project. and all the private and governmental banking sector will be obligated to support at least 20% of the credit loans to the SMEs project, and this is help all the SMEs project to make a new extension and increase the size and volume of trade in Egypt. And a lot of international conferences concentrate in this issue, and a lot of national forum like Youth Forum, also workshop related to a lot of workshop related to support SMEs project. National Training Academy also aims to present a lot of training courses related to SMEs, how to start a new job, how to start a new project, how to make a feasibility study of your project, how to make a sales and market of your product. A lot of this issue also will working together with the Minister of Communication and the Minister of Communication, supporting all Egyptian youth also by a lot of training online even, and supporting by loans also with the cooperation with the Nasser Bank, for example. All the governmental sector and the banking sector in Egypt working together to support SMEs project, because it's located in all the governor in different governor in Egypt, in Upper Egypt, in Sinai, in Arish, in
Minister of Trade and Industry, Naveen Gema, also is responsible for industrial parks around the country. How is the small and medium enterprises integrated within the industrial parks, within the big industrial parks that are across the country?
Yeah, and Dr. Naveen Gama will make in last 2 years especially a good achievement in industrial park in every different governor. In Dumyat, for example, in 6th October, yes, in Sadat City, in Asher, also in Cairo. So industrial park will help and support all SMEs to take the right direction and to be formal industry especially. And also a large scale of industry take governmental support in order to start make export of the all product made in Egypt, because this is our aims in the future. We aim to cover all the local market demand and make export of the surplus to the world, because increase the size of export to the world will reflect directly to the national economy, and they will bring to Egypt a foreign currency like US dollars and euro, for example, and will make adapting or matching between export and import. It will be effective also to the Egypt economy, and the minister, or the head of the cabinet, Dr. Mustafa Adbouli, will support the all industrial park to make export, because it will be add value to the GDP in the future.
You mentioned formal. So here, one of the important sectors that is not really seen is the informal sector in the country. And the informal sector accounts for trillions of Egyptian pounds. How do you assess the effort to integrate the informal sector into the formal sector?
Yeah, Egypt, starting from 2017, Central Bank Governor Mr. Tariq Amir start Financial Inclusion Forum in Sharm el-Sheikh with the cooperation of 40 countries from Africa and Arab country, aims to make financial inclusion, how to make a promotion to informal sector to be formal sector. And this process also facilitated from a lot of ministers, like trade minister, also in the process of issuing and creation of commercial register and tax card in order to be formal. A lot of benefits presented to informal sector to be formal. Exemption from tax and a tax rate, more clear tax rate. For example, from 1,000 to 500,000 volume of trade, you can pay only for the 1 year around 2,500 Egyptian pound, and this is a very small amount to all informal sector to be a formal. In last years, before the new tax law, a lot of informal sector worried about how to calculate the tax. So because of this, he preferred to be informal sector in order to be out of the banking sector and out also of the tax law. So today we promote we promote a lot of many different options to the informal sector in order to attract to go to the right direction to be formal sector by creating commercial register and tax card and open account in the national bank, or for example, or any bank, and presenting loans by 5% only, and the support is to be participated in the conference and the forum related to the government in order to promote and make advertising of your product, to aim for and to make an export of your product in the future to our.
So you assist them in the marketing and promotion of their products.
Yes,
right.
Especially on the official forum related to the country.
Let's move to the housing file, which has been very prominent during the current administration. What are the priorities and achievements so far?
Yeah, housing field in Egypt take a lot of the governmental support. Minister of Housing also support all the Egyptian citizens by a lot of flat by very low price. I think the price equal only the cost of operation and
cost of construction.
Cost of construction, sorry. And the central bank initiative also 3% will apply, I think, during the coming year 2020, especially in new capital new city and the new Ahmed city, and all new city in like new Aswan city, new Mansoura city. All the city also will applying this new rate of loans 3%, and it's very mortgage. It's very effective to all Egyptian youth to start alive by and during 10 or 20 years be the owner of the flat or the owner of the building, and also in the field of commercial may be applied. This will promote the housing field in Egypt, especially we expanding in all the governor and especially in the future. A lot of youth will be moved to new capital mission city because it will be that attractive of a lot of business capital, a lot of also large institution will take Egypt as a key hub market, especially in capital mission city beside the Sokhna, Porto Sokhna, and this will lead a lot of international company to take main office in the new capital mission city, and also of embassies will take a place and new embassy place in new capital mission city. All this advantage will lead youth to move to new capital mission city and the new Alamein city, because a lot of job will be created, especially smart job. And our Egyptian youth today nowadays graduate from a private university and also governmental university qualified enough to work with the digital economy and working with digital new governmental solution and new governmental services also depend mainly in the qualified employee, and the qualified employee will find a job in new capital mission city and new Almen city, and I think by a very high salary. And if we go back to last year's, our Sisi sent a clear message. I hope every Egyptian citizen have a salary more than 20,000 per month. It will, because we hope a lot to be a rich citizen in the 5 or 6 coming year, according to the vision of Egypt 2030 also. So in Egypt, we work in many different fields related to create job in the field of...
Let's focus on the housing file. One of the important achievements, I don't know if you would agree or not, was in the settlements, the unsafe settlements, the dangerous settlements, the people that were living in very unsafe, one can call it slums, if you will. Yeah. A lot of construction of very high caliber construction was made in order to move the people that were living in those unsafe areas into habitable towns, if you will, or habitable apartments that are furnished, that have schools, that have services. How does this fall in line with the social reform program that has been taking place?
Yeah, I think President Sisi sent a clear message by social reform under the name of Haya Karima to all the Egyptian citizens, and a lot of projects.
Life project.
Life project, yeah. And a lot of projects in this field done in Alex, for example, Ghait al-Ainab and Bashir Khair 1 and 2, and a lot of projects also in Upper Egypt and in Kafr Sheikh and in Bahira. So all this project send a clear message to the Egyptian citizens. We care of you. We care of the health care of you also, because all this community included schools, included hospitals, included police station, included all the Egyptian citizens need, and take the same shape and organized 100%, include also a sports club. So it will be very effective to every Egyptian citizen to move to this new community, especially the government support 100%, and the government also give you this apartment or flat by the cost of construction, or maybe the government support you also if the Egyptian citizen can't pay this installment. I think Egypt takes the right direction in this issue, and a lot of new city will depend mainly on the creation of the new community reflected the
decent life.
The decent life for the Egyptian citizen.
Let me move from there, because we have a lot of files. We have health, we have agriculture.
Yes.
Let's focus on agriculture for a bit. We had a plan to reclaim over 1 million fidans.
Yeah.
How is this going?
Yeah, this is a very good issue from you, because reclamation of and plantation of the desert land is very effective. Why very effective? A lot and the majority of the Egyptian citizens located in Delta, and the Delta nowadays is very crowded. So the government opened a new project in Wadi Gilid, new project in Alamein, new project in Upper Egypt also, new project in the reclamation of desert land in Sinai. All this project aims to move a lot of Egyptian citizens located in Delta and have a very good experience in the field of agriculture to this new farm, because it works digital 100%, and the government supported by infrastructure or roads, supported by electricity station, supported by water station, supported by national security also, police station, and this is very effective. The Egyptian policeman and the national security of Egypt, all the government today save 100%. Encourage all the Egyptian citizens to move and to buy this land from the government.
So you're creating
to 20 years.
So you're creating job opportunities.
Yeah.
You are reclaiming and adding to the agricultural land that you have, and you are creating sustainable development.
Sustainable development and the green economy.
And green economy.
Yeah. Let me send a very good position and about the export of the agricultural product last year increased by 28%. Even we face the COVID-19 pandemic, and but the export of agriculture product increased by 28%. Export of orange, for example, to China, export of fresh product, a lot also of fishing farm start and take operation, animals farm take operation, a lot of many different industry related to agricultural product take place in many different governors in Upper Egypt and in Kafr Sheikh and Bahira. So this lead to create a new job for youth, because in the new government, especially like Wadi Gilid, for example,
the new valley.
Yeah, and in Alamein, greenhouses in Alamein, and also will support the Egyptian economy, the Egyptian citizen by a product like camber and tomato by very cheap price all the year without jump or increase in the prices like before. So control of the price of fish product and the control of the price of the...
And the creation of self-sufficiency when it comes to food. This is a main priority.
Main priority to the national security, especially also.
On that note, Mr. Ahmed Khattab, economic researcher and president of the Sustainable Investment Committee in the Canadian Council, thank you very much for joining me.
My pleasure.
I know we have a lot of files to cover, but we don't have enough time. Thank you very much. Your messages were very clear. I thank you very much and take this opportunity to congratulate the Egyptian football team and to congratulate the Egyptian people for their win in today's match. Thanks for watching. I'm Ahmed Salah. Good night.